Very nice.
Moving on now, a Georgia father accused of leaving his 22-month-old son to die in a hot car has now been indicted. Justin Ross Harris has been indicted on 8 counts in the death of Cooper Harris.
Those charges include malice murder, which could carry the death penalty if they choose to bring that, and 2 counts of felony murder. Now, the other 5 charges include first-degree cruelty to children, second-degree cruelty to children, and an unusual charge of sexual exploitation of a minor.
Okay, so let's bring in defense attorney Pate. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's talk about this. In fact, one of the things that is on here, the sexting charge, it's unusual. Now, I know why it's in this case, but I'm wondering why didn't they separate it out? Because was it really part of the child's death?
Well, I don't think so, but I think the reason the prosecutor wanted it in this indictment was to make sure they would be able to introduce that evidence at the murder trial, because it's obviously very prejudicial evidence. In most cases, this would be brought as a separate charge, if at all. I don't think they're really worried about prosecuting him for that type of behavior, but they know that it will affect the jury and make it more likely they can convict him on the murder charge.
But is that really fair? I mean, it will make him look, I mean,
right.
Let's face it, it's already a terrible crime, but you
Sure.
add this element. It's like you really are purposely trying to portray him in the absolute worst light.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, the defense does have the option of asking the judge to sever those counts out, take them out of the indictment, make this a separate trial over the sexting charges, but that rarely happens. So I anticipate they're going to litigate this issue, they're going to fight it, they're going to try to keep that evidence out, because normally it would not play a role in the murder charge. It's not an element of that offense, but boy, does it affect his character.
But it's an element because it was what he was allegedly doing the day that his
Right.
son died, and that's how they can bring it in.
Well, they can present evidence because now it's a charge in the indictment, whether or not it had anything to do with the death of Cooper. So it's only relevant because the DA made it relevant by putting it in the indictment. So the defense does have a good argument that we ought to cut that out. But I've made these arguments before. Judges hate 2 trials. Let's try it all together, one case, especially a high-profile case like this.
What about malice murder? And what I'm wondering here is there are 3 counts, actually, of murder. This is one, and it's the worst one. An overreach?
I think they have evidence we haven't heard yet. Based on what we heard at
Don't we always say that?
Well, and it's often true.
True.
You know, we don't know exactly what was presented to the grand jury. We know they heard from one witness, the same detective that testified at the probable cause hearing. If all they have is what we heard at the probable cause hearing, I do think malice murder is a stretch. But there has to be something more. Remember, they've had a lot of time to go through the forensic evidence to see what other text messages or computer searches he may have conducted. And I think there's something that the DA is not going to tell us about it now, but perhaps the grand jury heard about it and they were convinced it's a malice murder case.
The sexting part that you were bringing up, I'm assuming too that came up because this is such an emotional case, and you want to almost give a parent a benefit of the doubt because you think this could not happen. They could not have done this intentionally. What is the defense's best angle, do you think?
You're still going to try to do that because I think initially, and I felt this way, most parents who hear about this, they want to empathize with the father. They want to empathize with him. And you saw initially a lot of support for Justin Ross Harris, and there was websites dedicated to him. They were raising money. But then the sexting evidence came out. The websites were shut down. The support faded away. So the defense right now, based on what they said earlier this week, is the state has too many different theories. They say he intended to kill him. They say it was negligence. They don't know what they can prove. So I think the defense will focus on the idea that the state is trying a little bit of everything and seeing what sticks.
All righty, Pate, thank you so much for walking us through it and we're going to continue to follow
Oh, absolutely. This case is going to be one to follow for quite some time. Thanks very much. Good to see you.